morning, boys and girls. This is day 3 of your week 6 packet. We are going to read a character passage called The Baker. Remember, good readers read more than once, so we're going to go ahead and start out by just reading to get the main idea of it and to get the gist of it, and then you'll read a second time to mark it up. Paige couldn't remember the first time she helped her mom or dad make cookies, but she did know that she must have been very young. Making cookies was one of her favorite things to do. Everyone always loved it when she made cookies for bake sales, Girl Scout meetings, or just when friends came over. One day, Paige's teacher, Mrs. Kelly, told the class about a town which was trying to recover after a hurricane. Many homes and schools had been flooded and some even destroyed. Families were hurting, and Mrs. Kelly asked her students if they would like to help. Everyone agreed that they would do something to raise money to send the hurricane survivors. Some planned to hold car washes, some wanted to set up lemonade stands, and Paige decided to sell her cookies. Now, instead of baking cookies just for fun, Paige wanted to make as much money as she could to help those who were suffering from the storm. Paige told grocery store managers what she was doing, and many of them donated the ingredients she needed. Paige took cookie orders from neighbors, from her parents' friends at work, and from the people who went to her church. Then one Saturday, 3 of Paige's friends came over and set up an assembly line to bake the cookies together. Once the cookies cooled, they were put into bags tied with ribbon and a small note explaining how the cookies were made to help those in need of help. Paige's mom helped to deliver the cookies, and they both were amazed at the way people reacted. Time and time again, people gave them much more money than what the cookies cost. When the whole class put all of their money together, they felt really good about how they had been able to help. Paige, however, didn't feel that she was done. She decided to continue to bake and sell cookies as a way to help wherever she could. Boys and girls, I'm going to have you pause the video here, and you are going to mark up your text. First, number each paragraph, double star important facts, circle keywords or details you want to remember, put an X over things you don't understand. Put a question mark over things you find confusing or have questions about. Underline unfamiliar words. Put an exclamation mark over things you find interesting. And draw an arrow next to parts you made connections to. When you've done this, push play and we'll go over it together. Okay, I marked up my text. I numbered my paragraphs. I see that there are 3 paragraphs, and I double-starred a few important facts. I thought the gist of this article was about how Paige wanted to bake cookies to raise money to help people who were trying to recover from a hurricane. So I started a couple important facts that I thought talked about that one right here. Since she was baking cookies to raise the money, this fact right here, everyone always loved it when she made cookies for bake sales, Girl Scout meetings, or just when friends came over. That tells me she must be pretty good at baking cookies. And then down here, now instead of baking cookies just for fun, Paige wanted to make as much money as she could to help those who were suffering from the storm. And then things I didn't want to forget is that everyone agreed that they would do something to raise money to send the hurricane survivors, and the thing that Paige decided to do was to sell her cookies. And down here, I found it interesting that when it was all finished, she decided to continue to bake and sell cookies as a way to help whenever she could. So she continued to help others even though this certain event was finished. Some connection that I made when she said she couldn't remember the first time she helped her mom or dad make cookies. I remember when I was very young helping my mom make cookies, my sister and I, and it was always super fun and we had a great time. And now I do it with my kids and they love it too. So I made that connection. 2 words I thought you might not know. This word hurricane, it says that they told the class about a town which was trying to recover after a hurricane. If you don't know what that means, then maybe we could look at context clues. I look inside of the word and I don't see any word parts I know. I looked within this sentence and I know that the town is trying to recover after the hurricane, but I don't see any clues that tell me what a hurricane is. It does say in the sentence after, many homes and schools had been flooded and some even destroyed. That makes me think flooded is when there's water everywhere, too much water, like after it rains and in Nuevo, the streets are flooded and you can't hardly drive through them. And it says some of the homes and schools had even been destroyed. So if I know that Nuevo gets flooded when there's a bad rainstorm, it makes me think that hurricane is some kind of like super bad storm that causes flooding and destroys homes and schools. And I can tell you hurricane is a really bad storm with very, very, very strong winds. And it does destroy towns, buildings, things like that. So they're very dangerous and very harmful. So that's what a hurricane is. Suffering. If you didn't know what that word means, it says Paige wanted to make as much money as she could to help those who were suffering from the storm. Oh, and there's another clue. Look, storm. So if we know that there was a hurricane, and then we see this word storm in the paragraph below, then we know, again, a hurricane is a type of storm. Suffering from the storm, well, if your town had been destroyed or your school had been destroyed or your home had been destroyed, what do you think suffering from the storm might mean? It could mean you don't have a place to live. It could mean you don't have food or clothes. So suffering maybe means that they are struggling. They are in bad times and they need help. Okay, let's go ahead and go to our first question. What were the settings in this story? Remember, a setting is a time and a place. So when or where did this story occur? Look back in your text, and when you see the clues that tell you when and where the story happened, write it down. Now, you don't need to tell me every little place of where it happened. Just tell me the main parts. When and where did the story mostly take place? Okay, number 1, what were the settings in the story? Settings, so they want more than one. Well, if you looked back in the story, it talked about, it didn't really say when, other than it said one day, and then it did say one Saturday, but it was kind of vague. So we don't know exactly when we just know it happened over a period of time. But it did tell us that it was in her class, right? It says one day Paige's teacher, Mrs. Kelly, told the class, and we know the class decided to help out, so she got the idea when she was at school. And then it says that she told grocery store managers to get things donated. She took orders from neighbors, parents, friends, people at her church. And then it says her friends came over to bake them. So if we were talking about the settings in the story, we kind of have 3 main settings in this story. What were the settings in the story? The story took place at Paige's classroom, at her house, and all over town. Number 2, what inspired Paige to bake cookies to sell? We talked about this word inspire last week. Remember that inspire means to make someone want to do something. It means to give someone an idea about what to do or create. So what did she create? She created cookies right? She baked cookies to sell. But what inspired her to do that? What made her want to do that? Find the clues in your text, and when you have them, write out your answer of what you think inspired her, and then push play and we'll go over it together. Okay, I found my clues in paragraph 2. One day, Paige's teacher, Mrs. Kelly, told the class about a town which was trying to recover after a hurricane. Many homes and schools had been flooded, and some even destroyed. Families were hurting, and Mrs. Kelly asked her students if they would like to help. Everyone agreed that they would do something to raise money to send the hurricane survivors. So the teacher told them about the town, asked them if they wanted to help, and they all agreed to help. Some planned to hold car washes, some wanted to set up lemonade stands, and Paige decided to sell her cookies. If we go to question 2, I used the question to write my answer. What inspired Paige to bake cookies to sell? Paige was inspired to bake cookies to sell when her teacher told her class about a town affected by a hurricane which needed help. Question 3. Which character trait does Paige show in this story? We're going to review character traits by watching a short video that reminds you what a character trait is.
Hi friends, today's lesson is all about describing characters. Our learning goal for today says, I can describe a character. We've already talked quite a bit about how characters play an important role in the story. Good readers learn how to describe characters. So we're going to talk about 2 ways you can describe a character. The first way is on the outside. There's Piglet. Isn't he so cute? He's one of Winnie the Pooh's really good friends. Now let's describe Piglet on the outside first. When we describe a character on the outside, we describe what we see. So let's take a good look at Piglet. I see a pink body. He has a striped belly. It's very cute. He has big pointy ears. And he's small. He's actually pretty tiny. Do you think that those are all good describing words for him on the outside? Yeah, because you can see him too. The other way that you can describe a character is on the inside. I don't mean inside their bellies. I mean their personality. How do they act? What are some things they say? How do they feel? That will all help us to figure out what their personality is and describe them on the inside. So let's describe Piglet. First of all, his actions. Piglet hesitates a lot. He's very hesitant. He kind of wants to try new things, but usually he takes a really long time to actually try it because he's just really hesitates quite a bit. He waits. His personality, if we think about what he thinks, is he worries a lot. He is a worry-wart. That's how I would describe him for sure. He's always thinking the worst thing is going to happen. The words that he uses tells us a lot about him too. He always asks questions. Usually his question is, why? What do you think will happen? He likes to know all of what could happen in a situation because, like I said, he likes to worry and he likes to hesitate. And as for feelings, well, he's a very nervous fellow. So if I was going to describe his personality, I would say that he's a worrier who asks lots of questions and is really nervous. And that makes him kind of hesitant. See? I just described Piglet on the inside. Our learning goal for today says, I can describe a character, and that's exactly what we did. Friend, when you're reading a good book and you find a new character in the story, think about how you can describe them. Think about the character on the outside and the inside. Both are important things for describing characters.
Okay, so what are the things that Paige did that can help us figure out what her personality is like? What is her inside character trait? We know that she decided to sell cookies, right? We know that she wanted, it says Paige wanted to make as much money as she could to help those who were suffering from the storm. She talked to grocery store managers to get donations. She took orders from the neighbors, the parents' friends, her people that went to her church. She got even some of her friends to come over and help her bake the cookies. Then they delivered the cookies. And then when she was finished, she didn't stop there. It says she felt really good about how they had been able to help. They all did, her whole class. But it says Paige, however, didn't feel that she was done. She decided to continue to bake and to sell cookies as a way to help wherever she could. So not only is she inspired to help and does a great job at helping, but she also, when the fundraiser, I guess, or the activity is over, she didn't stop. She continued to help other people, other causes. So what kind of traits could we say then? We could say that she was caring, right? Because she cared for others. We could say that she was hardworking. It takes a lot to bake all those cookies, package them, put the little note on them, deliver them. So I'll go ahead and put hardworking. What else could we say? Was she determined? She set her mind on a goal and then she pushed forward with it and kept doing it until she was finished. So I would say determined. She was determined to make a difference and to help others. We could say she is giving, right? She has a giving heart, giving of her time. And although she got some donations, it didn't say everything was donated. So that means she's using her own money to bake the cookies as well. So she's giving. You can pick which one you want to use, or you can say all of them, but we have to put this in a complete sentence. We can't leave it this way. So I'm going to say, it says which character trait, and then see how the S is in those parentheses? That means traits. You can put one or you could put more than one. They're giving you an option. You don't have to list all of those. One or two are fine. Number 4, which part of the text gives you this idea? So we just went back through the text and found all the places why. So if you list all of them, you need to say all the evidence why. If you just listed one or two, then it's fine to only put the evidence for the one or two that you listed. So I'm going to go ahead and say, where did we find our evidence? We just went over it. There's lots of evidence you could write. This is just to get you started. That's all for today, and I will see you tomorrow for day 4 of the week 6 packet. Bye.